What's up, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Jorge Edwards. Welcome to another episode of Fourth and Frames Playoff Edition.
Hey!
First and foremost, we hope you all had success in your fantasy football championships. I hope you had a great fantasy football season. We had a great time writing all the content, producing all the content here to get you set up for that for either scenario. Hopefully, they were both one and the same. You had a great fantasy football season and you won a title. So expect some Dynasty content from us coming real soon in the next few weeks as we get closer to the Senior Bowl and then going forward. We're taking some time here, but we thought let's not disappear completely. Let's keep going. We're having fun with this. We love football. Why not we just keep talking about football? And so Nate Markham and Andrew Cooper yesterday put out a podcast here at Fourth and Frames where they were talking about the different types of NFL fantasy playoff football. And if you haven't already, download the podcast, listen to it. It's fantastic. And so we're going to do our little own version of NFL playoff fantasy football. And so we're going to be doing NFLfantasy.com's fantasy playoff challenge with each other. And we're basically going to go over the picks of the players, our rationale for the players that we picked. And then from there, we're going to break down each game this week and give our rationale as to why we think the team that is going to advance is going to advance. And if I say rationale one more time, I'm going to slap myself. So I'm going to turn this over to Nate. How you doing, Nate?
Hey, I'm doing very well. If you had to think of a word that rhymed with bechamel sauce, what word would that be?
Very nice. Love it. Rationale sauce. Is this like shenanigans from Super Troopers where I get pistol whipped by somebody? The next person to say rationale.
Exactly. Bennigan's.
Yeah, exactly. Tyler, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I'm just tilting on some of my playoff picks.
Yeah,
it happened.
Yeah, it happens. Brian Ford, how are you?
I'm good with a very clear exception. This is another missed chance at an audio drop. Where is the Jim Mora playoffs?
Exactly. Yeah.
So let me tell you something about audio drops, okay?
It seems much more difficult.
You keep picking on me, and now I'm coming out of the corner fight.
Exactly. Right. So let me tell you something about audio drops. First of all, you would think it'd be simple enough that you go on Amazon or Google or whatever, and you'd look up a machine that you basically press a button, you hook it up to your computer, and then boom, sound enters said, podcast or live stream. I don't think it's that easy. I think you have to buy something that's like a big contraption called like a mixer, and then you have to mix things in. And I have no idea how to do that. Who I know knows how to do that is Michael Bauer of the Dynasty Rewind, who I got to get in contact with him and have him set me up. For those of you who are in the podcasting industry, podcasting arena in general, Michael Bauer at Rewind CEO on Twitter. It doesn't matter your podcast. He is great with technology. He is great with setting up audio equipment for podcasting. So if you have any questions, hit him up at Rewind CEO. He knows his stuff. Just to quickly recap on the fantasy football playoffs, Brian, did I hear you correctly in pre-show? You won 5 titles this year?
I did, yes, but relative to the number of leagues I have, not a very good percentage.
Yeah, we'll ignore that. The point is you won 5 titles. That's good. Nate Markham, how are you? How did you do?
I mean, compared to the number of leagues like Brian, not as great. I did win my home league, the big one there, and we start an auction in the playoff league tomorrow night as a continuation of the playoff or the auction league that we did, where it's real money. And I talked with Coop a little bit yesterday about that, in that it's for every dollar spent is an actual dollar. So if you want Patrick Mahomes and he goes for $100, well, you're spending $100 on Patrick Mahomes for the playoffs. And you draft and you go. And I've been fortunate enough to have done well in that league on the heels of some odd teams. Tennessee 2 years ago, Arizona, back when Arizona made it to the Super Bowl against Pittsburgh, whatever year that was. It all runs together.
2008, 2009.
Yeah, that's how. So it's been
2009.
For a while.
2009.
But yeah, so as a whole, I think I'm ahead, which is the most important thing. And I gain knowledge and I gain friendship. One of those people I gain friendship with is Tyler. Tyler, how did you do today? Oh,
I do
Not
Hey,
today. Not today. I mean, for the season. I don't care how you're doing today.
Trust me, you don't want to know. The polymer industry is a mess.
Was your fantasy title acquisition trial a mess?
I bet 250 on my leagues. I was 2 for 8.
Okay, all right. I was 33%. I was 1 for 3. So that, ironically, I went 1 for 3 versus Anthony Servino. Yes, name dropping. I don't care. And the real NFL guru on Twitter. And I totally left out a player. I left in James Conner, who was declared out. So I had like 0 points from one's position. And I still managed to whoop him. So there you go, Cowboys fan. I'm talking to you. Just
Okay,
kidding.
real quick.
Awesome.
I'm sorry. Before we move on,
Yeah, I'm having the same issue.
You're only in 8 leagues, and you're only in 3.
No, I'm in 15 leagugues.
Okay, yeah.
One
So
of
you
3
went 1
that you
for
were in
3
the
in the-
finals with. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, no, sorry. I meant to. Sorry that came. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was like, I'm in more than 3 leagues with you. I was like, I hate to call bullshit, but
I'm
gotcha.
very specific about my leagues. I'm slowly acquiring them.
There you
So
go.
Tyler, you were not 25% in the championship. You won the championship in 25% of your leagues. Is that
Yes,
correct?
I played in 3 championships. I won 2 of them.
Oh, well then, yeah. By Jorge's terms, you hit 667. So congratulations. I batted 500. I was in 2 championships and won 1, lost 1.
You know, did any of you have any issues with your commissioners not pushing the playoffs back to week 15 and keeping it in week 14?
Nope.
See, I had that in the Dynasty League, one of the offense-only Dynasty Leagues I was in, and I had Jonathan Taylor on the bench. And had I had him, week 15 starting in the playoffs, everything would have been hunky-dory. But ran into that in a couple leagues. I think, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that. But whatever. You live, you learn, you adapt, you move on to 2022. And that's where we're at in 2022. But before we get to the 2022 fantasy football season, let's talk about the 2021-2022 NFL playoff season. And we're doing NFL fantasies. Like I said, their playoff challenge. And so with that, Nate, why don't you just take us away here and tell us a little bit about that, and then we can start revealing who we're picking and why.
Yeah, so and NFL's is essentially an open pool. You can build the ideal roster. It's kind of like in a DFS scenario. It's like a tournament style. You're not competing just against. I mean, in our situation, you can do it where you compete in groups and you compete against each other and kind of shrink the competition. But as an overall, I mean, it's an overall competition. You're trying to finish. If you ain't first, you're last, Ricky Bobby style. Probably not. You're probably get second and third and get something. But I don't know as much about it. This is actually my first foray into the NFL playoff challenge. But the idea is the same. You try to build the best roster, accumulate the most points, and he who has the most points or she who has the most points at the end of the playoffs wins. And each subsequent round then doubles in point production if you have that player. So, for example, round 1, let's say that you happen to have player A who's playing in the wild card weekend and you score 10 points. You get 10 points. The next week, if that same player, if their team advances and he gets double the points scored from the normal scoring basis. If it's, 1 point for every 10 yards, 6 points for a touchdown, et cetera, et cetera. If they make it to the third round, the points then again, they keep multiplying. And by the multipliers is how you can really get in the biggest edge. So honestly, the single biggest strategy, and I'll say this after we picked it, is if you have in your heart of hearts 2 teams that you think are going to make it to the Super Bowl and they both play in the wild card round, there's a good chance you should probably take those players if you think they're going to be potential high scores. I think maybe we'll see that some of us have employed that strategy. Others might not. I haven't seen your picks yet. But essentially, that is the strategy that I have gathered. There's probably 1,000 different others. Sometimes you're stuck with choosing the best player on a team that may lose. And then you're hoping for the separation of 1x scoring being greater than what the other opportunity would be, even at 2x scoring. Devontae Adams is an example that maybe we'll talk about. he's on a bye, so he's not going to get your points in round one. But if you think they're making it to the Super Bowl, him getting 4x in the Super Bowl or 3x or whatever it is probably going to be amazing if you think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl. And that's actually what I kind of wanted to do, if you guys don't mind. I'd love to hear your Super Bowl picks prior to actually doing our fantasy. Are you guys prepared for that, or am I just throwing something on you?
You're throwing
something on, but you know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
Let's
And
do it.
because I said that, Tyler, I'm going to volunteer you to give this. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh, okay. Well then, okay, go ahead.
So I did have a tough time with it, but I'm going to go with my NFC representative of the Green Bay Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to make it happen. I think that they're getting healthy at the right time, and that's sometimes the most important thing in the NFL playoffs. They're getting David Bakhtiari back. They're getting Zadarius Smith back. And you got a healthy Aaron Rodgers, you got a healthy Devontae Adams, and you got 2 healthy running backs. And I think they're gonna figure it out this year. And if they don't, the Bucs are always waiting in the wings.
Is that who you have as the NFC Championship game? Battle of the Bays?
That's impossible.
I
don't think you're able to have that with the seating. Is it? Or
no, it
can.
reseeds. So the one.
Oh, it reseeds every round.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So 1 and 2, but it's those guys, or I think the Niners might push some people in the NFC. I really believe in them this offseason. They've got the run game going. Debo's an absolute monster. Kittle's actually healthy, and their defensive line is playing well. So.
Yeah. Brian, on the spot.
I think.
Hold on, you didn't tell us your AFC.
Oh yeah, the AFC. Yeah.
Oh my God, I had to have an AFC representative.
You don't have to.
We can do NFC
It's
first, and
pretty
we'll come
easy.
back around and do AFC. That's fine.
All right.
All right, Brian. Let's start with you. NFC. If you had to pick, who you ride into the championship?
Well, I think let me preface this by saying, as I've spoken with you all in the Slack chat, my interest in real NFL football pretty much dies after the fantasy season is over. So I haven't looked much about who's doing what with injury reports. I think I just learned today that Green Bay and Tennessee have the byes, if I'm correct. So keeping all that in mind, let me see here. I'm going to go with the Bucks for the NFC. Just
All right.
too many ways to beat you.
Yeah. They are getting Levante David back, which is big. JPP, Shaq Barrett. Their defense is getting healthy at the right time. And their secondary still, questionable, I guess. But, I mean, how good of a secondary do you need if you have all those pieces there? Go ahead.
I'm taking Green Bay. I'm with Tyler. I think they have all the pieces. I think, it's funny. You look at what happened last year as the playoffs went on. They lost Bakhtiari against the Rams, and he wasn't there for the NFC Championship. So many players started to go down, yet they still hung in there with Tampa Bay, even though Tampa Bay pulled away. It's the exact opposite now. I see Aaron Rodgers getting this Packers team to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Green Bay, but I want to say that there's a piece of me that could see a pathway for Dallas to ruffle some feathers and create a wave. Just because, I mean, I say just because there's probably 1,000 different scenarios, modicum of reasons to advance them. Number one, I just think that sometimes the age-old adage, defense wins championships. I get that. That's true. There's no doubt about that. I will say, though, that this Dallas offense, even, without Michael Gallup, Tyron Smith returning, they're starting to get healthy. Zeke said he was going into week 17, the healthiest he's felt. The workload between him and Tony Pollard. I still hedge and say I think, Green Bay gets to the Super Bowl. What they do in the Super Bowl, we'll see. But I will let you guys make your AFC choices first.
The Pats run it back. We have to win the previous year, I think, to run it back. But unless that's not how that expression goes. But
It's Australian, so it doesn't matter. It's they run the opening kickoff back, and then they don't score again for the rest of the playoffs.
yeah, gotcha.
Devin Hester style.
Wait, they have
Gotcha,
someone
gotcha.
that can return kicks?
Nice. All right, let's go again. Let's start with you, Tyler. AFC, who you got?
All right. So let me preface this by saying the AFC is an absolute shit show.
Agreed.
I think 1 through 6 could win the AFC. Not 1 through 7, 1 through 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Bills. I'm going to go ahead and say Josh Allen is going to put that team on his back. Their toughest game might honestly be round 1 against the Pats. You know, that the Pats know them well. Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time, no question. I think the Bills' talent just needs to push them over the top against the Pats. And I really believe they might have a harder time against the Pats than the Chiefs. You know, I don't want to talk bad about the Chiefs because, you know, Pat Mahomes. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Bills.
Nice. Brian, how about yourself?
Question first.
Sure.
Based on the seeding, if the Chiefs were to play the Bills in the AFC Championship game, where would the game be?
Here, KC.
Okay, the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl.
Nice.
Yeah.
I also concur. The Chiefs are going to go to the Super Bowl. But I will say this: I see the AFC Championship game being a high-scoring affair, and I'm looking forward to that game more so than any other game in the playoffs.
You think it's going to be Cincinnati and Kansas City again?
I do. That's exactly who I think it's going to be.
Yeah. I could see that. I could see that very easily. I mean, I think that you have to I don't know why I say this. This is probably unfair. Tennessee's done nothing to make me give them any less than the due that they deserve. They've overcome injuries to their starting running back. They've mixed and matched their linebacking core. They've had injuries to the secondary. The offensive line has been solid for the most part of the season, but at the end of the day, they have done more. I mean, obviously the wide receiver core we know as well. It's amazing. Mike Vrabel alone deserves to get a couple extra points in the games. Unfortunately, his 3 points as coaching won't be enough to, I think, even stop. Cincinnati's going to be a tricky one because if they can put pressure on Burrow, they already have, I think, the best run defense in football. They're like 1 yard behind Baltimore, I think, or somewhere close to that. So, I mean, we know Mixon is the key to keeping some of the pressure off of Burrow, but that's gonna be the tricky part there, I think. But I will agree, of course, my homerism. But at the same time, KC's defense is playing really, really well. We've seen. So, KC Green Bay, back to you, Tyler. Well, it's not KC for you, but it's Buffalo Green Bay.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and say Green Bay wins the Super Bowl. One thing I will throw out there about the Bengals is I don't believe in them.
Let me just put it bluntly. They suck. And
I love Joe Burrow. I love Jamar Chase. I love all their offensive weapons. I think Zach Taylor is going to be soundly outcoached. If they manage to get past the Raiders, which I think they will, every other coach in the AFC playoffs is going to put it on him. I don't think they're getting past the divisional round. But yeah, Green Bay against Bills for Super Bowl, and Green Bay is going to take it home.
Right.
I mean, the winner of Buffalo KC game is probably going to be the representative of AFC. I think that's pretty much the easiest thing for me to state because I can see that game going either direction. I hope it's KC side, but you watch that Buffalo New England game is gonna.
That's the one where I'm like, yeah,
yuck.
And apparently, there's reports that it's going to be like an ugly game, not so much like the Monday Night Football game with a win, but the snow is going to be playing a factor.
So, Coop was saying yesterday that during the game, AccuWeather already has a weather advisory that if you have an area of your body exposed, you suffer an increased, like a dangerous high risk of hypothermia. It's supposed to be negative 21 something wind chill, colder than the game in Minnesota. Winds, maybe not reminiscent of the first game, the Little Mac game of the 3 passing attempts or completions. I think it was attempts, but it's going to be. Remember Mike Tyson's punch out, Little Mac? Somewhere close to that. But Brian, how about you, man?
So who do I have? The Chiefs, Bucks.
You can have whoever you want.
Yeah, that's who I picked. Okay, so here's the thing. This is not sound analysis. Back from when I used to care about football a little more, and I rooted for the Jets, I still have a hatred for Tom Brady in my soul, in my bones. And not just because he's good and he beats people. I just don't like him as a person. So I was rooting hard against him in the Super Bowl that I didn't really watch last time. So I will say that this time, Mahomes and the Chiefs will win out over Pretty Boy, and he can go do his TB12 stuff somewhere and whatever. I don't know. So
how do you really feel, Brian, is the question.
Yeah, follow that one up, Jorge. Good luck.
Wow. Despite the fact that ex news correspondent or celebrity person, I forget who said it, Boomer Esiason, I don't know. Despite the fact that the rumors are that if the Packers made the Super Bowl, that Aaron Rodgers would sit out the Super Bowl in protest of whatever. He's not sitting.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not happening. So get it out of there. I think the rematch versus Kansas City from earlier in the season is going to be a fun game. It's going to be an enjoyable game. If anything, here's the thing: it's going to be a good football game, and it's going to be a good story because you got the Chiefs coming back to get some redemption from last year's Super Bowl, albeit not against the Bucks, and you got Green Bay and the unknowns of what's going to happen after the season if Green Bay wins. The announced team is going to have a great play-by-play. It's just going to be, the two teams who played in the very first Super Bowl are going to be meeting again this year, is my opinion. And I think the same result's going to happen. Green Bay is going to take it all the way.
It's we all have the same. We almost all have the same. We have the consensus is that it sounds like Green Bay is going to win, and I tell you, I have a hard time saying that they won't. I mean, I think the bigger challenge for Green Bay is, I think once they get that NFC Championship stigma off their back, that's the scariest part. Is if they get past that, that's been their Super Bowl for the last decade, really, is getting past that game and getting to the Super Bowl. And sometimes when that happens, you get to that point and it's such a relief that you finally made it. I don't want to say you shit the bed, because that doesn't, but that can happen. The Patriots and Cowboys have both been in Super Bowls before. That's true. Thank you, Dave. Excellent analysis. The fact of the matter is, I'm going to say that I think Green Bay will win. I do. I think Green Bay can win. I'm still going to use can. I'm not going to say will. I'm just going to say can. Green Bay can win. And if the clock didn't stop at some point, then maybe KC could have come back. But unfortunately, they might have just ran out of time.
It came down to whoever had the ball last.
Right. They put 110%.
So before we get into our picks I figure let's keep the suspense going and keep our reveal of who we're picking for the first round towards the very end, just to keep dragging it on, because, hey, why not? Let's keep this thing going. Let's go to next who we think is going to win each individual game. Obviously, we have some opinions as who's they're going to be, but I guess the rationale as to why. Before we get to that, here I am. I'm looking at the picture, the graphic of the playoffs board, and I see the big Super Bowl logo right there. And the last Super Bowl party I had at my house was in 2019. It was the Chiefs and the 49ers. And I went to Party City. I got like official Super Bowl merchandise. I hung up banners. I got the plates. I got the cups. I mean, I went all out, and I still have some leftover napkins of the 49ers and the Chiefs still in my house somewhere, and the Super Bowl logos. I love it. I like making a spectacle of it at my house. I looked at this thing called Touchdown Punch. It's basically like Sprite, some vodka, some champagne, and some blue curacao and some other crap. It tasted like Gatorade on crack. It was fantastic. I loved it. The point is, it was fun. It was a spectacle. Then, of course, COVID hit. And last year, I went to Party City, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get all this crap. I'm going to make all this food for one. And then, nobody else was able to come. But you know what? Damn it. I had the place decorated. I was not going to take away from the spectacle of what was the Super Bowl. And I see myself looking at this logo. I'm like, you know what? I gotta look at Party City, what they got going on, because I need that. I need this. I need this send off from the season. I need to enjoy it. I need to make this a big thing, because we're not going to have this for a very long time. Does anybody else do that, or anybody else do that when they're throwing the Super Bowl parties or get into the playoffs or anything like that? No,
I can't remember the last time I watched the Super Bowl.
Really? I find that hard to believe. You seriously can't remember the last time you watched the Super Bowl?
I watched some clips of whatever pieces of the Chiefs 49ers won, but I was like asleep most of the time. I don't really care.
Do you care more about the commercials? Like, you'll tune in for the commercials and then not the actual game? Or
I might care even less about the commercials.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that was not the direction I saw that going.
Sorry,
Tyler, how
Oscar the
about
Grouch. Yeah.
No, it's cool, man. Don't worry about it. Tyler, how about you?
Oh man. So I will say this is one of the only games that I can get my wife to sit and watch with me because of the commercials. So I appreciate them.
Nice.
I've never gone quite to Jorge levels for the Super Bowl. I've never bought the plates and the cups and the napkins and the signs and all that good stuff.
Wow, David just taking it to Nate, saying the Steelers are going to beat the Chiefs so badly Jackson Mahomes will start the second half. That's fantastic.
That's his brother, right?
That's his brother.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I always pick a few appetizers that I want to make, but I would have people over until I realized that I have a hard time watching football with we'll just call them casual fans.
Oh my God, it's so hard. It's so I'm with you.
So I stopped inviting people over because I can't stand people actually trying to sound like they know what they're talking about when they don't. I don't mind people that ask questions. That doesn't bother me one bit.
Sure.
I'm glad to talk to people about football. But yeah, the ignorance sometimes gets to me. And I know it's probably not a good thing, but it's
I can understand that. And I also make sure every screen has the team logo playing, and I have one TV playing. Like, if you go on YouTube and you type in NFL theme songs, there's like a big 20-minute clip where it goes through every single company's, every single network's song. Oh my God, I swear to God, I love Super Bowl time. Nate, what about yourself?
I haven't watched Super Bowl my whole life, so I'm just kidding. I clearly am the opposite of that, and I mean, it's easier when I have a team in the Super Bowl for the past 2 years, but we've had some. I like hosting, and Carrie likes hosting more, and so you combine the two, and we've got a box probably 36 by 36. That's Super Bowl box, and it's got a football like keg tapper type thing, or it's a big punch bowl filled, and then we've got the banners up everywhere, and it's easy. Again, when Chiefs are in it for a couple years in a row, you have a bunch of extra Chief shit, so you can just throw that around anywhere you want, whoever they're playing, and it is. And we're fortunate that we have a group of friends that all of one-upping each other when it comes to the appetizers. And it's a competition of whose is the best well-received. And so then we reap the benefits because everybody tries to one up. It's kind of like the Met Gala of pork treats and delicious carbs. But yeah, it sucks with COVID. People are still a little less likely to get together in big groups. But we, if that's the way it becomes, and Carrie and I will sit here and we'll yell at the TV together and we'll incorporate somehow. Maybe Brian and I will get Brian on a live stream and make him watch it courtesy of me. The problem I run into is this damn streaming stuff. None of my TVs, I can't sync them up. So you got one we used to have, and like downstairs was at one point the bigger television. We have the sectional and everything, kind of the cozier seating, but it was ahead. And then it was a battle of who's going to shut up and be quieter so the other TVs don't know. It's one downside. But other than that, it's great. It's soon. It's not too far from now.
Yeah.
What app are you making?
I have not decided yet. I have not. We don't know the volume of the people. We don't know what exactly is going on yet either. If we're going to have everybody here or if people aren't comfortable and they want, I mean, we got more space than some of our relatives as far as like tables and setups and stuff, but I don't know. Maybe we'll do that. That'll be our next show. Maybe we'll do
we should have a show on
we'll
this.
do an
I think this is a
appetizer. An appetizer draft to determine. How's that? Brian, you down with that? An appetizer draft?
No.
I will.
I mean,
Yes.
Not only do I not care, my apologies, but I'm
like
vegan,
food.
so I'm not going to like anything that you have. So yeah,
Not so fast. Not so fast. Believe it or not, when I started Fantasy and Frames, I went to every single social media site that they had and created an account. So there is a Fantasy and Frames Pinterest account. I will find some vegan Super Bowl recipes. I will pull this up the next time we have a show talking about Super Bowl party ideas, and I guarantee you I will find one that you like.
okay.
And it's a draft, so you can draft all the ones that you like, and you can have the vegan appetizer on your team and see how they stack up against, and everybody's a winner.
You see, there we go.
Sounds good.
Baba Ganoush.
There you go. All right, let's get into picking some of these games here. Let's start with the game that I think, it's kind of funny. When I'm looking at the graphic of it, it's right down the middle, two games. And I'll start with the NFC that give me the most pause here. NFC Cowboys and 49ers. The 49ers going to Dallas. This one gives me some pause. Like earlier in the season, you would have thought, hey, Cowboys are going to just roll over San Francisco with this offense, with this defense. I don't know, man. What the 49ers did last week was pretty damn impressive against the Rams to come back and win that thing. Show you that they do have the explosive firepower to get into any game and not be out of it. No Michael Gallup, although that's okay. Targets are going to go to Dalton Schultz, so that's not unheard of this season. But this 49ers defense, they still got Nick Bosa, they still got these pass rushers. I see Dallas getting by, but I don't see it being as lopsided as maybe some are anticipating. What about yourself, Tyler?
This one's hard for me because I really, really believe in the 49ers this year. And I don't want to diminish the Cowboys and what they've achieved this year and how good that offense has looked and how good that defense has looked and how good Micah Parsons has played and what he's done to transform that defense. But I think this is going to be the Mike McCarthy game where people will remember that Mike McCarthy is the Cowboys head coach and Kyle Shanahan puts it on him. So I'm going to take the Niners.
Nice. Brian, how about yourself, man?
Let's see. I could see this going either way. I think this is looking at the games here. Probably for me, like it's got to be like top 2 or 3 games on the wild card weekend. So, Cowboys. Yeah, I just think when it comes down to like a pass rush disturbing Jimmy G, and then the Cowboys' weapons, I think they can pull it out. Plus, they're home, so in the playoffs, I think that kind of matters more than in the regular season.
And Nate?
Like I said earlier, I'm a fan that I believe that there's a pathway for the Cowboys to even represent the NFC. They've been middle of the pack, a little bit better against the rush recently. And obviously, if the 49ers are going to do something to exploit, they're going to establish a pretty ground dominant game. I worry a little bit about Jimmy G and just the pressure that Dallas can exert on the opposing quarterback between what we've seen out of Micah Parsons when in pass rush scenarios, what we've seen out of Randy Gregory. DeMarcus Lawrence has returned. Dorrance Armstrong has had a huge impact in this rotation. And I think that that's what we'll see is enough pressure that Jimmy G is going to have to try to do what he's done, which is nickel and dime and dink and dunk. The good news is I think the matchup for if Trayvon Diggs is seeing 60% of the work against Debo, however they're going to try to line that up, I think that would be the advantageous thing for the Cowboys. But overall, I think their offense will reign supreme, and I don't think San Francisco has a good enough defense to slow them down. If you're doing the comparisons, I don't think it's going to be I think it's going to be a close game. I give Dallas by probably 4.5.
So let me guys ask you a question.
Smallest line of the weekend.
Huh?
It is the smallest line of the weekend.
Is it?
It's Cowboys -3.
Okay. It looks like I should take the Cowboys. My bets are
Nice. So let me ask you guys a question. You got Dallas, and there are 3 possible teams that they could be facing: Green Bay, the Rams, and the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Cowboys fan, which team are you the least concerned about facing?
I'm going Cardinals.
Yeah, as much as it was like I really was liking what the Cardinals were doing this year. I think among those 3, I got to pick the Cardinals.
Okay, then conversely, who are you most afraid of?
Oh, Green Bay.
Yep. Okay, let's go to then our next matchup. Let's go to Rams Cardinals. Who do we got here? Nate, let's start with you this time.
I mean, I lean the Rams in this. Arizona really crushed me. I had them winning the division, had a good little bet made at the beginning of the season. All they had to do was win and beat Seattle, and they let me down. And based on that, that's going to get I'm going to hate them through the playoffs. So I'm just going to want the Rams to win. Fantasy and statistical NFL analysis aside, I'm just going to bet with my heart and say I want the Rams. Plus, I think they're better on both sides of the ball than Arizona right now currently is.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you guys a question. Let me ask you, Nate, a question. The Rams win because or in spite of Matthew Stafford?
I can't say because of. Because I think that, man, that's a tough question.
My first reaction was neither.
Mine is
Okay.
I'm more on the defensive side. I think that get putting pressure on Kyler, it will pretty much just slow it down. I don't have a great analysis for it, unfortunately.
I threw that on the spot. No, that's not a big deal. You said neither, Brian. How come neither?
So if you win because of him, that means he, excelled and made good plays and, maybe carried a team on his back and that sort of thing. If you lose because of him, then, he's throwing, in spite of him, he's throwing 3 interceptions and that sort of thing. And I just don't see either of those happening. Just kind of right down the middle.
Tyler, if you had to guess, what would be your opinion with that?
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with Brian there. I think McVay might kind of, I don't want to say keep the handcuffs on, but I think he's going to try to run Sonny Michel. He's going to try to run Cam Akers if he can run and try to keep Stafford's attempts down and possibly his average depth of target down. Because, you've seen it the past few weeks. He lets Stafford loose and he throws 3 interceptions. But that's Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's never been another guy. He's that dude that'll go out and throw for 5,000 yards and throw for 43 touchdowns. But he's going to sprinkle in at least 3 to 4 games where he's just, what?
3 interceptions. What is happening? He's just that dude. So I want to say that they're going to win because of him. I'm a big Matt Stafford believer. I think he's going to put it together.
Arizona, the last 4 weeks, has allowed 11 passing touchdowns, the most in the NFL, to 1 interception. I think that just further backs your point there. Both you two, actually.
So you got everybody taking the Rams in that matchup. And then last but not least, let's get to the Bucks and Eagles. Nate, you brought it up earlier. Fournette coming back, Levante David coming back. Secondary still but the Eagles, I think they're the number 1 rushing team in the past few weeks, which is, that's I did not expect that. Does Philadelphia make this close at all, or do you think Tom Brady is like, all right, bitches, let's go. I got this. Let's start with Brian.
Well, like I said earlier, just too many ways to beat you. I'm looking at this this wild card week, and if I say what game has the biggest chance of being a real mismatch and sort of I don't want to say a blowout, but a real commanding win for somebody, it's the Bucks against the Eagles. So yeah.
Tyler, you agree?
I agree, but I don't want to take away from the Eagles. They've been playing people tough. They've got a lot of they still have a lot of talent on that team. They still have a lot of talent left over from that 2017 Super Bowl team that they all signed to extensions, and they're all finally getting to kind of the twilight of their career, but they're all good players. The Bucks are still going to take this game, but I think the Eagles are going to play them pretty tough.
Nate, which side of the ball do you think they're going to smash, or they're going to get smashed, or they're going to keep it competitive?
Man, the one thing is that you mentioned the Eagles as far as how they've performed to on the one side of the ball. What we look at is on as well as they rush, they're equally giving up as much work on the ground. They've allowed the second most points from a fantasy perspective, which is real football. But at the same time, if you're Tampa, you're going to exploit any weakness you can. And if they're going to try to control the clock and make Philly beat them by not making mistakes, that's where I worry just a little bit about Hurts, is that they're going to have to put the ball in his hand. And despite now, legs aside, he can do it. There's no doubt about that. I just worry that if it does become an offensive game, can Philly keep pace with Tampa? And I don't know that answer, because I think Tampa's reduced a little bit offensively speaking. They're clearly without 2 weapons. And so I think it's closer than that's probably one of the larger spreads. I just had that up to
8.5.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
But I still take Tampa. I mean, I wouldn't bet. Still not comfortable with them even covering necessarily.
So
yeah, I'll take the points.
If you're Tampa Bay, again, same question I asked you about with Dallas. Who are you most concerned about facing, Green Bay, or let's say the Rams or the Cowboys? I mean, both the Rams beat the Bucks, and then the Cowboys and the Bucks in Week 1 was a thriller. It came down to a last-minute field goal. For me, I if I'm Tampa Bay, I'm concerned about facing the Cowboys. Actually, I think I see these two teams and I see mirror images of each other. I think what you saw in Week 1 was not a fluke, and in fact, the pass rush for Dallas only got better. And I just see that taking them. I can see Dallas upsetting Tampa Bay in that regard. You might be wondering why I did not say Green Bay. There's something to be said for psychological advantages. And it's one thing for people to say Green Bay can or has the potential to beat Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay in Green Bay. Tampa Bay knows that they can beat the Packers in Green Bay. So I don't know if that's so much of a scary matchup as maybe some might believe, or maybe I'm wrong. What do you guys think? Let's start with Brian.
My first thought is I'd be most scared of the Rams. Tampa Bay, as I've said, too many ways to beat you. The Rams have weapons on offense. They've got a good defense. so they can play pretty much any game they need to, low scoring, high scoring. So I think they're more of a complete team, and I would be more afraid of the Rams.
Tyler?
I don't want to play the Rams if I'm the Bucks. That with the injuries they've kind of seen, Fournette's still banged up. He's supposed to be back, but I don't trust hamstring injuries. I think he'll be limited at best. No Chris Godwin, no Antonio Brown. They're I don't want to call them one-dimensional, but I think they're going to be overly reliant on Mike Evans. Mm-hmm. And when you have the best corner in the game and the best football player in the game, I don't care how good Tampa Bay's offensive line is, they're going to struggle to block Aaron Donald. And you have Aaron Donald affecting that game up the middle, and Jalen Ramsey, I don't want to say taking Mike Evans out of the game, but Jalen Ramsey limiting Mike Evans, I wouldn't want to see him.
David Ibrahim on Facebook brings up a good point. Does Brady struggle without Godwin and a banked up Evans and Fournette? Mm-hmm. I mean, these are good points. And then going back to his next question, does the return of Weddle make a significant impact? Nope.
No.
Nope. There we go.
All it does is it's a body on the field since they've had so many injuries across that secondary.
It's someone that knows where to be.
Right. Right. Stand there. Be there just in case they run that direction.
Put your arms out like that. There you go. Stop the guy if they come near you. All right, let's go over to the AFC and let's just cruise through these a little bit fast. Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Kansas City. I'm assuming. Okay. Let's go to the Bengals Raiders. Last time the Bengals faced the Raiders earlier this year, Cincy was 32-13. But this Vegas Raiders team has been playing a very spirited game the past few weeks. Do you think that's enough to get them over the hump, or do you think they used all their magic this past week? Nate?
I don't want to say they've used all their magic because that implies that they didn't play well necessarily and that it was shadows and mirrors. And I mean, they beat the Chargers and the Colts and the Broncos and the Browns. And so they've beaten, no playoff teams technically, if you want to put it that way, unfortunately, which is a sad thing considering both the Colts and the Chargers were two of my teams that won in the playoffs. But I just don't see the Raiders. I don't know why. Some teams you just look at and you go, man, I love the story, and I love the fact that it's this interim coach coming in and leading your team to the playoffs and getting that playoff win and going forth. But there's just as much to be said about Cincinnati, and I saw a tweet today that said there's never been a tweet that has stated the Cincinnati Bengals win a playoff game, because the last playoff victory was in 1991, and the first tweet ever sent, or the first text ever sent, was in 1992. So, there's a 30-year, or was that 20? 30 years worth of got to get that off their back. And I just think the Bengals, I know it's easy to manipulate one letter and you go from the Bengals to the Bungles, and it's really easy to see that happens. But I still put Cincinnati over Vegas in this situation.
I'm going to go Cincy. This is the game. This is the redemption for Carson Palmer. I know I'm going back X amount of years, but ever since what's his name for Pittsburgh collided into his knee, tearing his ACL on a fantastic season for the Bengals. This is that redemption since losing that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers and a few years ago where Vontaze Perfect went all Vontaze Perfect and cost them the game, where AJ McCarron almost had the upset. This is for you, Cincy. You're going to take it. This offense is firing in all cylinders. This defensive line is doing its thing. I think they advance to the next round. Let's bring us down to the Bills and Patriots. I understand why some are taking the Bills, man. I can't go against Belichick right now. It's the Bills passing game better than the Patriots passing game. The Patriots running game better than the Bills running game, if we're just talking about running backs, not Jonathan Allen. And we're talking about horrible conditions. Give me New England upsetting, quote unquote, the Bills this week. Brian, what are your thoughts?
My question from before was, if KC and Buffalo end up in the championship game, where's the game being played? Because I think it's chalky, I know, but I think that's probably going to be the championship game. They're the two best teams, and I just think they're going to rise to the occasion in the playoffs. I have to, look again. I kind of have a hatred for Belichick too. Again, not just because he was good and beat my Jets. I just don't like him as a person. But I will say that the Patriots have shown flashes of a good defense here and there, but they also did that against sometimes some pretty cake matchups, right? I mean, Devin Singletary ran all over them, and Mac Jones is the quarterback. Like, who's he throwing to? Like, it's the Bills are going to win.
Okay, Nate.
Yep, I agree, and he touched on a lot of points. I mean, hate to take anything away from a season from New England that I don't think many expected. It was a great turnaround. It was a great story, quote unquote, for Mac Jones. I think the offensive rookie of the year, a little overrated as far as anointing, Mac that title. But yeah, their victories, Brian, the Jets, Houston, the Jets, Carolina, Atlanta. Now, granted, it was Buffalo, Tennessee, they did beat, and Cleveland. And Jacksonville. So, I mean, you can eliminate some of those teams. Obviously, there's a little weighted, but in the game, it's going to be freezing cold. It's going to be ground and just beat up. And even though I know New England is built for this type of game, for some reason, something tells me that Buffalo has that. If you need the ball in one of the two quarterbacks' hands with the ability to win the game, I trust Josh Allen to be that person much more than Mac Jones.
All right. So now that you got the rationale for all these games this weekend, let's get into our rosters that we selected for week 1 of the Fantasy Playoff Challenge over at NFLFantasy.com. Yeah, Brian's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what we were doing. So I'll go first. Let me share my screen here. And this is my starting roster this week. So I am a firm believer that the Patriots and Bengals are going to take it to the AFC Championship. I think the Buccaneers, I think Fournette coming back is a big deal, and I think he does have some upside potential there. Devonta Adams and the Packers defense, I'm okay with waiting a week because I think they're both stellar. And of course, Travis Kelce, how can you go wrong there? And Harrison Butker, just the points should be flying, and especially in the AFC Championship, I think Butker in this Chiefs offense going against, which I think is going to be the Bengals, just kicking victories my way. What do you guys, when you look at this, anybody jump out that's a red flag? Let's just talk about red flags for everybody's rosters. Let's start with you, Tyler.
Red flag for me is Leonard Fournette. I kind of mentioned it earlier, that hamstring injury, man. I do not trust hamstring injuries, and they did a good job holding him out. They didn't try to force him back. They saved him for the playoffs. I don't necessarily think he's going to go out and re-injure it, but I don't know if he's going to see the workload that he has, for most of the regular season. But that being said, the Bucs should win that game, and he should be healthier next week and give you a shot at times 2 points.
Okay.
Nate, what about you? Or Brian, how about you? Go ahead.
I maybe I misunderstand the way this playoff challenge works, but you have 2 Packers there and they're on a bye this week.
Yeah. So the idea of having a Packers player now is that each week that they're in your roster, the next week they earn double the points. So in order to get the maximum 4x point scoring, they have to start this week. So that leads me to the one, if there's a red flag, is only at defense, simply because I think the defensive scoring in this format, and I'd have to look a little deeper. Again, know your rules is probably key number 1, and maybe I'm way off on this, but my guess is that even at 4x, if you get if you get the points in the first round from a defense, that probably subsidizes the value. But I don't know if this is I look at defensive scoring in one of two ways. It's either going to be the one where the best scoring defenses average about 7 points a week, or they get you 17. You know what I mean? It's where you start. And I don't know that answer. So shame on me for not looking deeper into it. But I agree. Leonard Fournette does have me a little concerned just because of the hamstring. But man, he was probably the number 2 scorer last year overall in playoffs because he got him all the way to the Super Bowl. And if you think Tampa can make it, that's rock solid, brother.
Nice. Let's go here. So joining us in this year, we got group.
The hell are they?
Yeah, no.
Hey, I got popular real quick.
Wow, we did get popular. That is.
Oh, wow.
That's our group. That's overall.
No, this is us. This is our.
People love us.
That's ridiculous. We had 5 going into the show. Number of users 5. Okay.
I don't. I've never used this site, so I don't.
Yeah, that's leaderboard.
Yeah, I think it's just 5.
Yeah, we have 5.
Okay.
Fantasy footballers have 2,785.
Yeah, that's a little bit ridiculous. But it's open to anybody who wants to join. So feel free. I'll keep tweeting out the links and putting it on Facebook and all that other jazz. So, okay, who has the next screen they want to share? Is everybody who wants to share their roster next?
Sure, I will. Oopsies. This is the issue that I knew. I was like, well, here comes Nate fumbling through all this.
I can talk you through it. So share screen.
Oh, I'm right here.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Right. So my difference was, as far as, pretty obvious, I think, is that I have my Super Bowl team and the Chiefs represented in the 3 areas that I worry the least about. Who got the Boom Bust Award for us? Tyreek Hill. I love Tyreek, but in a scenario where you're wanting to go the most applicable and the biggest weeks each week, I think that's going to belong to Kelsey. And so I have him. He's going to be chalk. We know you can't separate. Like we talked about DFS, you have to separate yourself just a little bit. I don't think anybody really separating except for Devin Singletary. And I think Singletary might be that one play that in a ground game, cold weather, they win and they advance. At that point, I have just one piece. And I figure that if Buffalo is going to advance, especially through the AFC, they're going to probably do it on the ground more than they are through the air. I don't worry about Zach Moss at all. And so if they lose in the second round to the Chiefs, then I just swap out Singletary for whatever other piece it is. And I think Zeke might be a little bit of a wild card. Only 16% started right now. I think the Tony Pollard split duties is a little hyperbolic in terms of what they'll actually do. But, Cooper Kupp, we shared Jamar Chase. And the Patriots in this matchup, lowest scoring, I think, point total of the weekend. Maybe they're a one and done, but that'll just take my points there and hope to hedge with Devin Singletary. Anybody have any objections to anything?
I want to pull up Singletary's usage the past few weeks because I think he could be onto something here.
While you do that, I have a quick question. As we know, I'm not as plugged into real football news as everybody else. Didn't Pollard get hurt? So the timeshare isn't like a thing anymore?
He's been having his foot issues on and off. They sat him in week 18 because they didn't need him.
Right.
Oh, I thought he got injured again in week 18. My bad. Okay.
Yeah, when he tore the plantar fasciitis, that's actually like a good thing from what I understand. It's just weird. He was a full participant in practice on Wednesday. But again, that all builds into that credence. I think Dallas has a chance to make it pretty far. Put him in. Well, that's mine. I'll obviously bounce out of here and let you guys share yours. There you go.
So, I guess for me, I'm looking at Singletary's production in the past 4 weeks. I mean, you average everything, it looks fantastic. Week 15 against Carolina, 86 yards. 17 Atlanta, 110. The Jets, 88. But against New England in a cold weather game where all they had to do was run the ball, he only got you 39 yards. And you wonder how much, Man, that is a great pick for this week. I got to be honest with you, given the nature of the weather being a potential factor here and the running game potentially being up regulated there. But that would be my only concern against the fact that he wasn't able to do it against New England a few weeks ago.
Makes sense.
Brian? Oh, sorry.
Okay, so yeah, no, that's right. I've only shared a screen on Zoom before, so just I had a little patience for a couple seconds here. Okay, do this and share screen.
Yeah, so it should
Okay.
give you like a little tab. Once you do share screen, it's just like you click on screen 1, or you can choose your tab that you want to share, and then you just
Right.
click on the
Okay.
tab.
Chrome tab. There we go. Bang.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boom. There they are. So, disclaimer: the Know Your Rules jab was directed at me because I had no idea about this 4X stuff. I had no idea you could start somebody who was on a bye. I thought I was playing like a 1-week game, and then I go on to the next week and that sort of thing. So that said, this is my lineup. Again, like I said in the Slack chat, pretty chalky, but I think when I'm looking at the first round games, this is what I feel the most confident in. I think even with the pass rush with Dallas, Debo isn't exactly like a huge ADOT, so I think he can still eat, and Elijah Mitchell will eat, because if they want to beat the Cowboys, they're going to run. He might get some passes and a negative game script. Najee, but like honestly, lots of volume, because that's kind of the only way Pittsburgh's going to keep the Chiefs scoring down. And when I look at the running backs this week, I just said I don't know. I probably feel the most confident in him. Kupp's going to eat no matter what. Mahomes and Kelsey are gonna step up in the playoffs, and I have no idea what I'm doing with kicker and defense. But I hear Harrison Butker is like the best or second best, and I just thought the Bucs against the Eagles this week was a good matchup. I was thinking about Brady, but here's why I said no. While that does have a chance to be a mismatch, it also, since they can beat you many ways, Brady can give you a 340-yard game with 3 touchdowns. He can give you a 236-yard game with 1 touchdown, and Fournette eats. So I just didn't trust it. So that's my lineup.
Nice. Yeah. I like the 49ers, the picks there, Elijah Mitchell or Deebo Samuel. I wonder if both can both thrive against Dallas. It would be my concern. I think one of them is definitely going to do some damage, and if I had to guess, it'd be Deebo. So my concern is with Elijah Mitchell. But again, the Dallas defense, they have to take away one of those. They're not going to take away all of them. So especially with Deebo being used in the running game more. But I love those picks. Nate, what are your thoughts on the roster?
Obviously we share 4 of the 8, and the only difference is, I think like Brian said, going in and realizing that the multipliers, he probably would switch out Najee, even though I think Najee's not a terrible play, because sometimes if you're going to have if there's an upset and Pittsburgh beats KC, he gets double points out of Najee against Buffalo. Now that might be great. I don't know if there's enough points to score. I mean, that's back-to-back tough matchups that he would have. But let's say San Francisco does actually advance. Jorge, you touched on it and said that if you're worried or there's concern that both have a potential to have a pretty significant dent, but if they're at 2x of Elijah and Debo is more than a 1x of a team that you have to put back in if people rostered heavily on Dallas. And if you're looking at the percentage starts, Debo's at 7%. The public's fading San Francisco in this matchup, it appears, if you're looking at the percentage starts. So he has that advantage. He's starting, some chalk, which you have to start chalk, but not everybody. I mean, you want your contrarian picks to separate yourself. So I think Dallas wins, but if not, it's free, right? Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Brian's in a free contest.
Yeah. And just another thing, I want to hear what Tyler has to say, but just another thing about Debo and Mitchell. I could be wrong because I'm not an X's and O's guy, and Nate would know this better. But he said before that, San Francisco is going to try to run a lot. And when that happens, sometimes, Kittle has those games where they keep him in to block more. And he, like week 18 or whatever, five catches for 10 yards. And that means like it's one less person eating. And I think Debo and Mitchell can. So just another thing to think about.
Layers. I love the layer of thought. Tyler, your thoughts?
I love it. I mean, I've got got a couple guys in common on this one. I'd have a hard time picking Najee there, but we already kind of covered the know your rules thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I like the Butker pick. I think that's the easy pick. It's the chalk pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love Debo. I did not manage to get Debo into my lineup. I was trying so hard to shoehorn him in, but I couldn't figure it out between my two wide receivers. But I love that pick.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, let's round out the show. You go with yours, Tyler.
Okay.
Thanks, Nate.
Yeah. I'm intrigued. What I'm intrigued to see so far is that Mahomes is only 37% rostered.
All right.
And it has to be, I'd say maybe.
So we got Brady, Singletary, Elijah Mitchell, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Gronk, Harrison Butker, the Bills defense.
Yep. Brady is not the greatest of all time because he is the greatest regular season quarterback or the greatest stats compiler. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time because he is the greatest postseason quarterback of all time. I will not put dirt on that dude. I am not going to count him out one bit. I echo the reasons for Devin Singletary from Nate. I've been kind of, I guess we'll call it a Devin Singletary stan for a couple of years. I liked him coming out of FAU, motor Singletary, let him motor on. They've been using the crap out of him. The Bills have finally accepted that he is their best running back, and the other guys they have on the roster are not very good at football.
They're garbage.
Yeah.
Nate will take his anger or his hatred towards Zach Moss into the ground.
Bye, Zach Moss.
Elijah Mitchell has been, he's 20 plus a game. It's just what he's been doing. He is the dude for that team right now. He's the best running back on that team. Kyle Shanahan sees it, and he's providing him the work thusly. Devontae Adams, he's the man. I'll take a 0 from him this week to get 50 or 60 points from him next week. Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 1 of the season. He's going to eat. He's going to be the main focus of that offense. Gronk is shockingly the only really healthy main weapon on that offense. If you look at his usage over the second half of the season, it's absolutely insane. You're 8 targets, 9 targets, 8 targets, 9 targets, 11 targets, 2 targets, 10 targets, 10 targets. And he is just off the rails with his workload right now. And Brady is going to target the hell out of him. Harrison Butker, because, I will never count out the Chiefs, and they could very easily make the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. So why not get some multipliers there? And the Bills, low scoring game of the week. I believe they're going to win that game. And I also believe they're going to represent the AFC. So why not try to get those multipliers in there?
Yeah, I will say one thing. If I could switch any pick for myself, would definitely be pivoting back to Buffalo, just because that makes sense. Even if I think New England has a better chance to, maybe create a turnover in week 1, the multiplier in week 2, since I think Buffalo's going to win, would be greater than any of those. But I agree. So Gronk, great pick. Eagles, most advantageous matchup against tight ends on the season. And I wish I would have got. I want to put Devontae Adams in. I really, really, really wanted to, and I still could. There's a chance I could. No, we're not supposed to change it, are we? Unless some news comes up, let's keep it like they are. But Devontae, you imagine at 4x in the Super Bowl? Holy crap, that would be.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, you guys, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess my concern is is Brady, but you look back, I mean, they're pretty dominant against Philly, 28-22. Don't let the score fool you. This was a blowout, and they just basically let up on the gas, and Philly kind of climbed their way back into the game. In air quotes. But the returning of Fournette, it makes me wonder like how much they're going to let Brady go and then just give the ball to Fournette to finish him off. That being said, you look at the offensive weapons for Tampa Bay. You look at Gronk. You look at Mike Evans, big body wide receivers. You look at Fournette running the ball. I actually have no concerns about, well, obviously because I picked him for my roster, but I think they're ready to put him to work. Where I'm going with this, red zone opportunity, touchdown opportunity. While the yardage may not be there for Brady, I think the touchdowns are going to be there for Brady, which can definitely help his output this week. So I see it. I don't see it, but I see it for Brady. Aside from that, I think everything else looks pretty awesome. You guys have really just covered all the rationales as to why. Yeah, nicely done.
My
Brian?
one rebuttal to that with the Brady's production may be suffering with Fournette. The reason Fournette was such a valuable fantasy asset this year is because Brady targeted the crap out of him. After their bye, his targets were 9, 6, 8, 8, 7, 7. So outside of that 1-3 touchdown game for Fournette, the majority of his production and of his yards has been through the air.
Touche, sir. Touche. Brian, you got us any last minute thoughts before we wrap up the show?
Yeah, I'm not saying this because I wouldn't mind him getting hit by a bus, but with Brady, I think Tyler said it right. He's not the greatest quarterback of all time because he's the biggest stats compiler. He's the greatest quarterback of all time because he's the best playoff quarterback. Well, you need him to compile stats these next few weeks for that pick to really work. And I just think I think there's a non-zero chance you could see, like I said before, a 236 and 1 touchdown game because Fournette's eaten. So I just don't think over the course of those weeks I would rely on the stats from Brady, which is what I think is important here. So maybe I misinterpreted what you said.
A 236 and 1 production game is going to look pretty good with a 3x multiplier on it.
Okay. All right. Touche.
Yep, the trash talking has begun. We're going to see who wins this week. It's going to be awesome. So awesome for that. Stay tuned over the next couple weeks over at fantasyandframes.com as our dynasty rankings are going to be coming out. We already have our quote unquote meetings scheduled so that we can get ready for the 2022 season. So thanks for tuning in. Good luck this week, guys, but not too much luck. Tyler, Brian, Nate, with you. If you guys have any questions, follow them. FF Tyler Heil at FFJunkie _ at Nate Markham and me at Jorge B. Edwards. Good luck having fun. Good luck with your fantasy playoff challenges. Good luck. Have fun watching all these playoff games this week. Enjoy.